Level 1. $0. You're on your knees under a conference table with an HDMI cable in your teeth. Above you, a venture capital meeting, oil portraits, creaky floors, money so old the building doesn't need a sign. You're 24. Tech support pays you $19 an hour to be invisible. You fix screens for men who won't learn your name. Your own app lives on the cracked phone in your pocket. 11 users. 9 are your relatives. The screen blinks on, and you do the dumbest brave thing of your life. You pitch them. From the floor. 30 seconds. Marcus, third-generation partner, doesn't stand up. That's a feature, not a company. And you're the cable guy. The room chuckles. Somebody asks if the screen's fixed. It is. That's what you're for. Claire, the junior associate, walks you out. Send me the deck anyway. You never send it. In 30 years, every family in that room will wait on your reply. The oldest name answers in 4 minutes on a Sunday. Tonight you code until 3 a.m. in your dad's machine shop, under the wall clock he never lets anyone touch. He taped something inside it the day you were born, worth about $200. What does a machinist put in a clock that $100 billion can't beat? Level 2. $1,000. The call doesn't come to you. It comes to your boss, at the tech support office, from a number with no company name, a family office, asking for the young man who fixed the screen at the townhouse. Old money doesn't take names. It takes notes. A family office is the quiet company that runs one family's money. You expect marble, you get a hedge, a gravel lane, and a carriage house with no sign on it. Inside the carriage house, saddle hooks are still bolted to the wall, and the server closet is older than your dad. The man who opens the door is in a cardigan. His name is Ellis. 70s, runs the office, hands like a gardener. Ellis asks your first name at the door and uses it twice before noon. Nobody at the townhouse ever asked. Their backup system is down. You fix it in 6 hours, sitting on a wooden stool in the closet with the saddle hooks. You invoice $1,400, the biggest number you have ever typed. Then you learn the first rule of this world the hard way. The invoice sits 30 days, 60, 90. You check the mailbox like it owes you money, because it does. You eat noodles over the sink and rehearse a follow-up email you never send. Not malice. Nobody is punishing you. At this level, 90 days is what your time costs them. Nothing. The man who mows their lawn waits 90 days. So do you. But here is what the waiting buys you. While the backup rebuilds, you find what crashed it. A scanned archive going back to 1911. Ledgers in fountain pen. And you can read them, sitting right there in the server closet, because nobody thinks the cable guy reads. 5 households are drinking from one trust. The trust is thinning. The numbers get smaller every decade, and the households don't. Old money isn't a vault. It's a leak with manners. You do something nobody asked for. The archive is a mess, so you stay one night, unpaid, and index the whole thing. Every ledger. Searchable, labeled. You leave it on Ellis's desk without a note, because a note would be asking for credit. 2 days later, the check arrives. Paper, signed in fountain pen, 93 days late. Folded inside it is a note in Ellis's handwriting. 2 lines. You fixed what you weren't paid to fix. That gets remembered. You read it 4 times in the parking lot of the tech support office, engine off, hands on the wheel. Then you walk inside and quit a steady job over 2 handwritten lines. That night, in Dad's machine shop, you pin the note to the wall above the workbench, next to the wall clock. Dad looks at the note, then at you. He doesn't say congratulations. He clears a space on the bench, sets down a small steel case, machined, smooth, sized for business cards. You don't have business cards. Dad knows you don't have business cards. That's the point. He made the box before the thing that goes in it exists. You are 24 years old with $1,000, a pinned note, and an empty steel case. Remember what the note says, because the note is the whole ladder. Old money keeps books on everything. It wrote you down. One day, the person doing the remembering is you. Level 3. $10,000. 11 firms never answer at all. The 12th answers in exactly 3 weeks. 1 line, no greeting. Come in. It's Marcus's firm. The townhouse. The library. The table you fixed a screen under. 2 years ago. On your knees. You have $10,000 now, and 400 real users. And you know exactly one person on the inside. Claire. The associate who said, send the deck anyway. She preps you at a diner, in a back booth, 2 nights in a row, off the clock. Claire teaches you the room like a map. Don't fill silences. To them, silence isn't awkward. It's a scale. They're weighing you. The second night, at the diner, she laughs at one of your jokes and covers her mouth with the back of her hand. You go home and type out a text asking her to dinner, a real one. Your thumb hovers. Not yet. After the pitch. Business first, so it means something. You save it in drafts. 14 words. You count them twice. Pitch day, in the library. You are good. 2 years of real numbers. 400 people who pay you. Claire argues for you in front of the partners, out loud, on the record, which costs something in a room like that. Marcus doesn't look up from your one-pager. He is sitting. He is always sitting. We fund horses. We don't fund the kid who shovels behind them. That's the whole meeting. Nobody laughs this time, which is worse. Laughing means it was a joke. On your way out, you finally look at the mantle. It's lined with little lucite blocks, the clear plastic trophies firms make when a deal closes. Each block is one win. You read the dates. The newest one is 9 years old. This firm hasn't won anything since Marcus's father stopped coming in. The horse breeder is out of horses. You file that away without knowing why. 3 months later, your phone lights up while you're debugging at the workbench in Dad's shop. An engagement announcement, forwarded by nobody, found by your own stupid thumbs at 2 a.m. Marcus and Claire. You put the phone face down on the workbench. The wall clock ticks above the pinned note. You open your drafts, find the text you never sent, and delete it one letter at a time, like it deserves a funeral. Dad comes down at 2:30 in his robe, says nothing about your face. He drags a second stool to the workbench, sits, and hands you the shop's oldest screwdriver to fiddle with. You code. Dad watches the code like it's a lathe. Neither of you says her name. Here's the arithmetic you do instead of sleeping. The deal you lost was worth maybe $500,000. The text you deleted was worth more, and you'll never get a term sheet for it. So you stop knocking. No more cold emails to men with libraries. You take the rule you learned in the carriage house, and you follow it all the way down. Never ask a leak for water. Build your own well. Sell to people who answer. 400 users become 4,000 by Christmas. The firms that ignore you now will answer you in minutes one day. You'll clock every single reply. Level 4. $100,000. Day 3 of the trade show, and your folding table is winning. You're on a convention floor the size of an airplane hangar, wedged between 2 booths with LED walls that cost more than your car. You have a vinyl banner, a card reader, and a demo that works. By Sunday, you've taken 600 orders. Real money. The kind that changes what the mailbox means. You do the new money thing exactly once. You lease a German sedan on a Tuesday and post a photo of the key fob before the seats warm up. 40 minutes later, you think of a carriage house with no sign on it. You delete the post like pulling your hand off a stove. Too late. Screenshots are forever. Somewhere out there, your 40 minutes of loud is in a folder. Then comes the interview. A customer of yours is a member at the golf club across town. The old one. The one with no website. He sponsors you and walks you into the grill room. Golf shirts, iced tea, carpet older than your dad. Membership here isn't bought. It's granted. Nobody asks about your revenue. Old money never asks about money. They ask about time. How long have you lived here? How long have you known your sponsor? Where does your family summer? A question that uses summer as a verb. A thing you didn't know until this exact iced tea. Then, gently, what does your father do? He's a machinist. For 1 second, the table actually warms. Real work, made things, hands. Then somebody mentions the Greens Committee, and the window closes like it was never open. 2 weeks later, the letter. Cream paper, real stamp. Your application remains under review. No timeline, no next step. Under review is a sentence with no clock in it, and the clock is the point. New money gets reviewed. Old money gets remembered. Your file is fresh. And fresh is the whole problem. They're reading your calendar, not your money, and everything about you says this year. You're at the club as a guest one Saturday when you see Marcus at the bar. Claire waves at you, small, from her stool. Marcus sees you, turns his back, and orders for the room. Loud brand, loud tip, a 20 flat on the bar, like a magic trick. Behind him, 2 members trade a glance the size of an eyelash. You've been studying this world for 3 levels now, so you can finally read the glance. It says, reviewed. It says Marcus has been under review his whole life, and doesn't know it. The microphone voice, the 20 on the bar, fresh. Permanently fresh. Dad calls that night while you're washing the sedan in your driveway. You tell him about the club, the letter, the review, with no clock. Dad is quiet a second. The car. Does it need you, or do you need it? You return the lease at 10 months. The club doesn't call. The mailbox stays polite and empty. You have $100,000. So far, it opened exactly one door. A grill room you were walked into like a coat somebody was returning. They're not reviewing your money. They're waiting to see if you can wait. Level 5. $1 million. You're invited to the gala because you paid to be. Everyone in the room knows it, including you. Your company sponsored a table at the charity auction, the big one. It's held in a converted train station downtown. Iron beams, chandeliers, a stage where the ticket counter used to be. Sponsorship is the side door past under review. 10 grand buys the invitation nobody would mail you. The live auction starts, and the room splits into two species. New money duels. Paddles snap up, a vineyard weekend climbs past 40 grand, and every bid comes with a little look around the room to collect witnesses. Old money bids on nothing. It stands near the iron pillars with a glass it isn't drinking, and it watches. At this level, you finally see it. The auction isn't the auction. The bidders are the lots. The room is deciding what each loud paddle is actually worth. So you run the carriage house play. Your paddle stays on the table all night. You give by pledge card instead. Folded once, handed quietly to the treasurer's table. Same money, no microphone. Marcus takes the stage. He donates by announcement, a number into the microphone, and the station applauds with its hands while filing the moment with its eyes. Claire stands beside him in the stage light. She isn't clapping wrong. She isn't frowning. She's wearing the old money face, the polite blank, and she's wearing it about her own husband. That's the part you can't unsee. Later, the gala's treasurer, an older woman counting pledge cards, gives you one dry line without looking up. His check takes 13 weeks, historically. 13 weeks, 90 days, without the manners. Marcus pays like old money and spends like new money, and that combination has a name, broke. Then Ellis crosses the whole floor of the train station to reach you. Past the paddles, past the stage. He nods at the pledge cards on the treasurer's table. My grandfather gave with pledge cards too. One sentence. He walks back to the pillars. You stand there holding a glass you aren't drinking, and it lands. That sentence is what the paddle swingers were bidding 40 grand to hear. None of them ever will. You check your phone in the coat room, glowing. 6 missed calls from Dad. A voicemail from noon. No big deal. Last day at the shop today. Sold the machines to the trade school. Come by if you're around. The gala was tonight. The last day was today. You were choosing a tie while Dad swept the floor of a shop he ran for 31 years, alone. You drive over at midnight, still in the suit. The machine shop is empty when you walk in. The machines are gone. Clean rectangles on the concrete where they stood. The pinned note and the wall clock are still up, and the light over the workbench is on. Dad left the light on for you. He knew you'd come late, and he wasn't angry about it. And that is so much worse than angry. You take the clock down and carry it to the car like a casket. It runs 4 minutes fast. You don't fix it. Applause is what a room gives you instead of a place in it. Tonight you got applause at a train station, and your place was here. Level 6. $10 million. The invitation is 4 handwritten lines on cardstock, from Ellis. No agenda, no schedule, a date, a dock, the name of an island, and the last line, which is the whole thing, bring boots. That's the whole contract. You've waited 3 levels for old money to look straight at you. This is what it looks like. A weekend with no stated purpose, on an island with no cell service. They go silent for 3 days, on purpose. The test is whether silence makes you sweat. The lodge is cedar and wood smoke, older than the state highway. Nobody talks business, nobody talks money. The first morning, at the woodpile behind the kitchen, you split logs wrong for 20 minutes, hacking like you're angry at them. One of Ellis's cousins, a man in a flannel older than you, watches. He doesn't correct you. He picks up the axe, turns one log, taps the crack in the grain, and hands the axe back. No lecture. You split wood for 2 more hours and think about nothing. Best meeting you've ever been in. At night there's a card game at the long table by the fire. Hearts, for pennies. You lose 3 nights running to Aunt Dot. A 90-year-old in a cable knit sweater who deals like a Vegas veteran. By the second night, you're sure Aunt Dot is cheating. She's dealing herself from the bottom, badly, almost like she wants it seen. The third night, at the table, you set your cards down and say it plainly. Dot, you're dealing off the bottom. The table goes still for 1 full second. Then Aunt Dot cackles like a lawnmower starting, and the whole room roars, and somebody pours you something older than your company. Dot pats your hand. Took you 3 nights, sweetheart. That was the test inside the test. They wanted to know if you'd tell the truth to someone you need. Money can buy yes men by the pound. What it can't buy is somebody who'll say the true thing at the table, gently, to your face. Business happens on the last morning, on the dock, 10 minutes before the boat comes. Ellis stands next to you, feet over the gray water, and says 11 words. Our office would like to see your next fund. No hurry. 3 days of silence. 11 words. That's the whole deal. A fund is the pool of money you invest for other people. Ellis just put his family in line for yours. That's how a review ends when you pass. Back on the mainland, your phone reloads in the marina parking lot. 61 unread emails, buzzing in your hand like a hornet jar. 61 down at the bottom. A cold email from some kid. Misspelled subject line. A demo link. I know you're busy. Spelled wrong. Your thumb hovers over archive. And catches. You know this email. You wrote this email. 12 firms worth. Back when 3 weeks of silence felt like a verdict on your whole life. Somewhere under a conference table, there's still a kid with a cable in his teeth. You reply that night from the truck stop parking lot, before you're even home. The drive home takes you past the shop. Dark windows. For lease sign faded. Their money lives in a carriage house with saddle hooks. Ellis's family has been small on purpose for a century. If their money lives in a carriage house, yours can live in a machine shop. You call the realtor from the driveway. Engine still running. Not for the memories. For headquarters. Level 7. $100 million. A family that has banked at the same institution since 1912 answers your email in 4 hours. On a Sunday. You sit in your kitchen and stare at the timestamp. Because you keep books too now. 2 years ago, 3 weeks. Last year, 4 days. This morning, 4 hours, on the Lord's Day, from a family whose rule is that nothing is urgent. By next spring, 4 minutes. Nothing changed about you. The math changed. Your fund returns what their trusts can't find anywhere else, and 5 households are still drinking from every one of those trusts. Old money didn't warm up. Old money got thirsty. Their minds followed the need, at the speed of the need. The speed isn't flattering. There's fear under the handshakes. Being needed for your returns is being the cable guy again. Better paid, same job. The meetings have no rooms now. That's how you know what you've become. You walk a timber tract at dawn with one family, boots in wet grass, 100 years of trees on both sides. With another family, you lean on a white fence rail at a Kentucky horse farm. You talk numbers while a foal wobbles past like a card table learning to walk. Vendors get shown offices. Family gets shown land. You are being shown land. Dad comes on one timber walk, in borrowed boots, 71 years old, keeping pace fine. Within an hour, the timber family likes him more than they have ever liked you. Of course they do. Dad has never hurried in his life. They can smell it. Then Claire calls. You're at the wheel, driving home from the farm, when her name lights the dash. First call in years. Her voice is level, with one shake in it. She's leaving Marcus. She has left. A month already. Renting a cottage 2 towns over. Lawyers are doing the slow part. Then Claire tells you one fact. Flat. You're the only person she knows whose money won't flinch. The lake house went up for sale last week. Under a company name. He thinks nobody can read it. Close. You can read it. Selling your house behind a company name is how a man sells everything while still looking rich. The firm has been subletting 2 of its 3 floors for a year. The Lucite stopped 9 years ago. The collapse you've been watching in glances and 13-week checks is now selling real estate in the dark. Claire isn't asking you for anything. She just needed to say the fact out loud to someone who'd know its exact size. That's its own kind of trust. You have one dinner, the same diner, the same back booth where she taught you about silences, 2 fortunes ago. You talk about everything except Marcus. She notices you're still you. You notice she was always the smartest person in that library. Then you drive Claire to the cottage, and you go home. Alone. On purpose. Not the old discipline, not business first. Some things you refuse to win the way you win assets. She just walked out of being somebody's acquisition. You will not be the next bidder at the door. At the carriage house that week, Ellis slides a one-page letter across the desk. His office is anchoring your next fund. Anchor means the first big check, the one that makes every other family's check feel safe. And below his signature, one more line, the old kingmaker move, on paper, in fountain pen. There are some families we'd like you to meet. Somewhere in your inbox, the kid from the truck stop sends you a progress update. 900 users now. You answer it before Ellis's letter. Someday, you think, that's the whole job. Level 8. $1 billion. The meeting request arrives on a Tuesday. Marcus's new fund needs an anchor, and every real door in town quietly pointed him to yours. You reply in exactly 3 weeks. One line, no greeting. Come in. You know precisely what that reply costs and what it pays. You waited 2 years to send it. It tastes like less than you expected. Everything at this level does. He books the townhouse library for the meeting. The firm sold the building last spring. Marcus rents his own past by the hour now. Name still on the brass plate downstairs because polishing it off costs extra. You know this room. You've been under its table. The lucite blocks are gone from the mantel. There are pale rectangles up the staircase wall where the portraits used to hang. Sold, one by one. It's the quietest kind of going broke there is. Old money sees those rectangles from across a room and never ever mentions them. Now you see them too. Marcus pitches standing up. You are seated. Neither of you names the geometry, and both of you feel it. His deck is thin. 9 slides about a fund with no anchor, no story, no team. Just a name that used to open doors. And a plan that is 1 slide of wanting. And then it happens. He describes his own product, badly, and leaves the door wide open. The sentence assembles itself behind your teeth. That's a feature, not a company. His words. Perfectly aged, decades in the barrel. Claire would have heard about it by morning. The whole town would. The wall clock in your head ticks 4 minutes fast. You look at Marcus. Actually look, and the villain isn't there. There's a tired man in a very good suit, renting a library he used to own. Standing, because sitting feels like losing. Pitching a stranger he once called the cable guy, and hoping the stranger doesn't remember. You don't say the line. You wanted a fire. You feel due diligence. So you do it on the merits, out loud, kindly, with the numbers. The fun doesn't work. You show him why in 4 sentences, the same 4 an honest friend would have shown him 20 years ago if he'd kept any. Marcus takes it standing. To his credit, he doesn't argue. Somewhere in the last 2 floors of his collapse, he ran out of argue. Then, in the doorway, you tell him about a night in a carriage house, a crashed archive, ledgers to 1911, a kid indexing them until sunrise, unpaid. The work was there, and no one else was going to see it. I have a portfolio company that needs an operator who knows how money breaks, you say. Real job. Salary. You'd report to a woman half your age. The silence that follows isn't old money's scale. It's a man doing arithmetic on his own life in front of a witness. Marcus says he'll think about it. From him, that's a yes, with its coat still on. Months later, you're on the porch of a rented cottage, 2 towns over. Claire hands you coffee and sits down next to you like it's the diner booth. Close on purpose this time. She married the room once. She watched what you did in it and chose the shop. Dad hears the whole library story at Sunday dinner, at his kitchen table, and puts down his fork. You offered him the second stool. You hadn't seen it until he said it. Level 9. $100 billion. Your family office has no sign. It lives in the machine shop. You bought the building the year of the island. When the office needed a home, you didn't build a tower. You put the desks where the machines were. You kept the workbench, kept the concrete with its clean rectangles, and you hung the wall clock back on the wall it started on. Ellis, 90 now, sends 4 handwritten lines and a potted plant. The last line says, "Took you long enough. 30 years. That's how long it took to see what Ellis saw that first morning. A carriage house and a machine shop are the same building. Old money was never the townhouse. It was the no sign. It was small on purpose, patient on purpose, useful on purpose. It was a man who pays in 90 days and remembers you for 90 years. Dad is here, 82, sitting at his own workbench like a king who never left. And today, finally, at the workbench, He nods at the clock. Open it. It's yours now. Inside the clock, taped to the back panel, is a small paper bundle gone yellow at the edges. 2 rolls of dimes. The old kind, silver, pulled out of his change back when he was an apprentice. The day you were born, Dad rolled them in paper and taped them where nobody would look. Face value, $10. The silver inside them is worth about $200 now. A machinist's version of a trust fund. $10 in dimes, left alone since the day you were born, by a man who never made 6 figures. He never spent one, because he never thought of them as his. They were always yours. He just refused to hurry them. The first old money you ever knew wore an apron. For half a second, the old fire finds you. You could photograph the dimes next to your fund's returns and mail Marcus the print, no note. He'd understand every decimal of it. You tape the rolls back inside the clock and close the panel. Some interest doesn't get collected. Marcus, for the record, is fine. He took the job. There's a staff page with his face on it, 3 lines of title, reporting to a woman half his age. By every account, he is good at it. That's the whole nod he gets, and it's more than the room ever gave you. Then your phone buzzes on the workbench. A cold email, misspelled subject line. A demo shot on a cracked phone, filmed in somebody's garage. 11 users. 9 of them, the kid admits right up front, are relatives. You check the timestamp. You type 2 sentences and sign your first name. Come in. Bring boots. 4 minutes. You held the reply 4 minutes, and only because you read it twice. Across the shop, Dad is showing Claire how the old lathe worked, hands over hands, both of them laughing at nothing. And you finally tell her the thing you wouldn't say at the diner years ago. Why the clock runs 4 minutes fast? Dad said it that way his whole life, so a customer would never wait on him. You leave it fast. It's not broken. It never was. The email sits open on the workbench. The front door of the shop is unlocked. Somebody has to be the first old money that answers.